So what we're going to be doing is launching an EC2 instance. The first thing we want to do is sign into the AWS console, obviously. After that, you want to come up to the upper left-hand corner. You want to click on the Services button. Then you come down to the Compute section. Click that. And what we want to do is select an EC2 instance. Now, in your case, if you've never used any of these functions before, you may not have these stars. Okay, these stars merely indicate that this menu was visited before through this account, and a star was clicked, and that star actually makes it a favorite, and adds it to the favorite service, and adds it to the menu bar or the favorites bar up here at the top. So if you don't see that, don't worry about it. Click on EC2 instance. So we want to click on launch instances. It can be done here or here. Let's go here. Okay, now we have the choice that we want is obviously Amazon Linux 2 AMI. For the purposes of this exercise, although there are two here, we're going to take the first one on the list. They're both eligible for the free tier account type, which is what we're using. We're going to leave it at 64-bit x86. Press select. Okay, so now you're taken to step 2, which is choose an instant type. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with the default that's already selected, right, which is the T2.micro. So 1 CPU, 1 gigabyte of memory, EBS only, etc. We want to click the next Configure Instant Details button. Okay, once we get to this screen, what we want to do is leave everything as it is and click on the next Add Storage button. Here we want to add a tag. Okay, so let's click the next Add Tags button. I'm going to actually click the Add Tag button. And we're going to enter a name for the key. And the value will be my capital Y, capital M. That is EC2 server. And we're going to click the button that says Configure Security Group. Okay, so now what's left for us to do is to configure the security group itself. We want to assign a security group. Let's give it the name My EC2 server underscore SG for security group. And for the description, and as you can see, this information was pre-populated for us, security group name and description. And you can use that information if you like, but we want to use specific things here that are more descriptive. So we're going to call this a security group to allow traffic to EC2. We're going to leave SSH selected, all of these settings. Let's do source anywhere. Now let's also add another type here. All right, so we've said the security group is going to be of type SSH, protocol will be TCP, the range will be 22, the source will be anywhere. We'll leave the description as blank for now. And then we're going to add a rule for HTTP in the security group. Type will be obviously HTTP. We're going to stick with the TCP protocol. We're going to stick with port 80, as that is the port for HTTP. And we're also going to call the source, name the source anywhere. And then we're going to hit the review and launch button. Okay, now we have a message here at the top that says improve your securities. Improve your instance's security. Your security group is open to the world. Your instance may be accessible from any IP address. We recommend that you update your security group rules to allow access from known IP addresses only. You can also open additional ports in your security group to facilitate access to the application or service you're running. Example, HTTP 80 for web service. Okay, so we're going to leave that message be for now. And let's do a quick review here. So here's our EC2 instance, Linux 2. We use the Linux 2 AMI to do it, to launch it. Instance type T2.micro. And we're looking at our security group rules. Okay. And we're going to hit launch. Okay, now before we complete our launch, we need to either create a new key pair or select an existing key pair. I'm going to create a new key pair. The type will be RSA, and the pair name will be my EC2 key. So we're keeping our naming consistent. Now we're going to click on the download key pair button. Let's drop that on the desktop. And then we're going to hit launch instances. What we want to do is click on the View Instances button here. Well, what we can see here is that the instance has been launched with the name My EC2 Server. Here's the instance ID. The state is running. Okay. We're going to click on the instance ID. So we have a lot of information here. We come down to the Details tab. In the instance summary area, see our IP address is here. So what we want to do now is SSH into the EC2 instance. You can do this right from the same screen where instance summary is shown. Simply hit the connect button. We don't need to change anything here. Simply hit the connect button again. A new tab will open. Okay, and this will give you a command line interface. So now that we are in the EC2 SSH terminal, what we're going to do is switch to the root user, install an Apache server, start that Apache server, enable that Apache server, and then check the status. And last but not least, we'll launch a web page as evidence that that Apache server is up and running on our EC2 instance. So the first thing we want to do is, I'm currently a user here. I want to go to the root user. I'm going to issue the sudo su command. We're now the root user. Next thing we want to do is let's check for any updates while we're here. You always want to be running the most current version of any software application. No packages marked for update. Okay, so we're current. So let's now install Apache. So I realize I haven't written the word Apache here, but this is the command to install Apache server. Looks like the installation was successful. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to start the web server. All right, and in command line world, you just press the up arrow. You can get your previously loaded text. In this case, we're not going to use that. So press the down arrow. We'll go back. That was more of a just an FYI for you. And the command for starting the Apache server, systemctl space start space HTTPD, hit enter. Okay, so the server should be started. We're going to want to enable. Now, in order to enable the server, we're going to enter a different command. Again, I'm pressing the up arrow to populate the previous command. This basically saves us some time since the syntax are very similar. For the next command, which is the enable command, I'm listing them both here so you can see them side by side. The first command is to start the server. Second command is to enable the server. We hit enter, and it looks like the system, based on this output here, looks like the Apache server has been enabled. And last but not least, we're going to check the status. We're not going to guess whether it started or not. We're going to check the status. Again, we press the up arrow. It gives us a similar syntax with the exception of the word status. We exchange the word start for enable. Then we exchange the word enable for start. But the rest of the syntax is identical. Okay, so it looks like our HTTPD service Apache HTTP server is running. The status is active running since date time 1 minute 16 seconds ago. So that looks good. Okay, so now what we want to do is we can go back to, actually the public IP is shown right here in the bottom of the terminal screen. We can copy that, open a new tab, paste that in, and voila. This is an HTML page. This is evidence that our HTTP server is running on Apache. The next thing we want to do is go back to the terminal. Now we're going to, since this is a default test page created by Apache, what we want to do, it is available to the public. We've hit the IP address. This is what you'd see. So this is an EC2 instance that is actually running Apache, that is actually showing a test web page. So what we want to do next is let's do something to this test page so that we have further evidence that we are running a server that we have control over. We're going to do it from the command line. So what I've done is executed the clear command. Basically clears out everything that's on the terminal screen. It takes you back to the top first row with your cursor. So what we're going to do now is enter this following syntax. Okay, this syntax basically does two things. It echoes, meaning to print, the HTML words, hello quick starts, in HTML within HTML tags. And it also, the tail end of this code identifies the path to the index.html page, index.html page, where this HTML code will be inserted. Hit enter. And if we go back to our server instance, you may have to hit refresh, and the words hello quick starts are now displayed on our HTML page. So what we have successfully done is launched and configured an EC2 instance. We tagged that EC2 instance. We configured a security group for that EC2 instance, installed Apache server on that EC2 instance, published a web page which we later edited on that EC2 instance.